Battlegrounds options for Season 17. Defense, offense. There's different types of possibilities. Command, of course, let us know the process for this is a little bit more straightforward. It is bob and weave. All of the defender's attacks are guaranteed critical hits. So I would say in a nutshell, and by the way, there is a little, there's an infographic, it's an infographic like guide thing we're going to be referring to. Link is in the description if you want to check it out for Season 17. So what I've done with this one, which we'll come back to in a second, is kind of point out this. You don't want to get hit in the block. Why? Well, the defender's attacks are guaranteed critical hits. What's even worse? That's right, things called stat focus and champions that have pierce. So as a lot, a lot of 7-star champions will have as part of their particular makeup and kit on defender stat focus, if you put block penetration right there. Mine's currently locked because I'm in contact at the moment, but I should have changed a lot of my 7-star champions to block penetration. This, of course, is going to be such a key factor to doing a lot more damage and being a bit of a pain point with those particular critical hits through the block. Even worse if you've got champions that, of course, operate with a pierce, like Hulkling, like Valkyrie, to name a couple of them. This is disabled for 10 seconds if the attacker dodges or intercepts a defender. The defender can land critical hits through block. I think we've just said that. But of course, you have to do an intercept in order to, reset it. So it will mean that you'll have to be on the offense, having champions that are able to be very easy on flow, and sometimes the AI, it's not always the case, it's going to be that way. Obviously, for an offensive standpoint, using the Dexterity Mastery to dodge an attack grants the attacker a passive Fury charge, increasing their attack rating by 5% per charge. Makes sense. Build it up, dodge, smash the enemy, But at 10 Fury charges, the charges are lost and the defender attacks are unblockable for 15 seconds. So yeah. This is something that I do want to point out as to the best methods of kind of approach. So it's going to be always down to what you feel is necessary and also easy to use. From an attacking standpoint, in a nutshell, before we get into Gladiator Circuit, which we'll talk about the week 1 in a minute, what do you want to take on? If you want to take on things like the unblockable buff, then you need to suppress it. If you need to suppress it, you're either going to be nullifying it, staggering it, and stuff like that. Of course, look to your mystics in order to do that. But if you are, like myself, more interested in more, and as I said, really effective attacking options, then this may differ your type of approach. I think one of the name of the games is to find counters for situations. Let's face it, some of these defensive options, which we're going to talk about in a minute, are going to require counters. Whether or not you are going to say, okay, well, I'm going to get a load of debuffs on me, let's use Kingpin. A lot of the enemies are going to be misorientated because people are going to feel the likes of Spot or annoying Mist champions or annoying Mystic champions. Then use science champions that are really effective, like Scorpion, like Hulk, like Overseer, like Human Torch. The list goes on with kind of approach. Your usual suspects for attack: Nick Fury could be a evade champion. Falcon, which I've not put in here, but I think a lot of people know about Falcon. Archangel, recently. Werewolf by Night is doing some great damage. Guillotine, Deathless, fantastic. Hercules, of course, not a normal kind of mainstay. But you've also got your Kate Bishops. You've got your Spider Hams, which, look, if it's going to be a difficult defender, what is the defender going to do? Well, I might throw special attacks. What does Spider Ham punish? Special attacks. It's kind of it's a no-brainer, but not a no-brainer at the same time. In theory. Gladiator might be effective this season. Baron Zemo, usual suspects. Sunspot with amazing incinerate damage in a very short space of time could be a really effective option. Gallon, I love using Gallon in Battlegrounds, so I might use that. Of course, shock damage with Shuri. Lots of options. Maybe Deathless King Groot is going to be an option, and regular King Groot, which I kind of rate, is going to be a good option as well. We'll have to see. I think a lot of people will kind of opt for a lot of champions that they've kind of higher ranked in order to put in for an option. I do foresee a lot of things like Doctor Doom being a champion that people are using in defense. And as well as specific things like, Maestro is a normal one. Iceman is another kind of standout or kind of interesting one. Infamous Iron Man could do the job on a defense, but I don't know if I see offense maybe. Warlock could be another option in order to shut down the likes of frustrating champions on mutant form, especially like Havoc, as a lot of us know. But it depends on other things. Like you could say, right, well, Colossus has got that Fury passive, so access to more of a Fury charge. And then adding this guy in, nice parry heavy, an SP2, great amount of damage. Again, it's one of these in theory options. You could say the same for Captain America Infinity War. That could be another option on an offensive aspect. It's such a difficult one nowadays with rosters being stretched, also damage potential depending on mastery loadout changes, and of course mastery changes can be very, very effective. Nightcrawler may be another option. He does a lot of damage in a very short space of time, providing the enemy is going to be receptive to it's going to be the wise idea, because you're like, oh, I'm not going to take him against a tech-based champion. So there could be a lot of options available. I think this particular season will be about finding the right counter for the situation, because the defenders are going to be the trickier ones. I don't put it past people to do a lot of the kind of popularized ones of kind of last season, and frustrating defenders like Onslaught, Kindred, Mephisto, Nova. I've seen plenty of uses with that as a defender. Viv Vision, Killmonger, even Baron Zemo. Maybe not this season, but I will probably see a few of them lurking around. The usuals, Bishop, Hulkling, Spider-Ham in defense could be a bit frustrating. But again, the right pair-up is like, okay, well, they fielded Spider-Ham. The nodes aren't too tricky with the meta, so I'll just bring Nick Fury in, or Falcon, or any other decent option. Terex is a frustrating defender, yes, providing that somebody hasn't brought in the right counter for it. Serpent and Destroyer could be frustrating as well. And of course, Bullseye has got to be there. Xerxes, yeah, good option in defense. And same thing with Domino and, Vision Arcus and Spot. But again, miscounters. Same with Vision, miscounters. And Kingpin in defense is, it's just a case of like the length of time that the fight goes on. Which then is the reason we've turned our attention to Gladiator Circuit. Now, Gladiator Circuit for week 1 is interesting, as it has fisticuffs. Like, there's nothing really changing about like the nodes. They're kind of like they're the same with it. But I would say with this one, because it's got fisticuffs, it's going to be the same. Annoying defenders are going to be the key, but attacking options, because you're not able to have buffs or debuffs for the first 20 seconds, you need to find champions that are going to be able to do an extent of damage or 20 seconds of ramp before you're able to do anything. So you could be more aggressive and build into those Fury charges quickly, and then throw in something that, I don't know, you've got a special attack ready that's going to be absolutely devastating at the 20-second mark, providing you've ramped up the champion. You could be like, right, I've ramped up Onslaught, I've ramped up Hulkbuster to do an SP1 rotation, or kind of like SP2 to SP1 rotation. Another champion like Werewolf by Night. Again, you could ramp up. Could be Guillotine 2019. Why not Guillotine Deathless? Build her up. Build up those souls. SP3. Fight done after 20 seconds. Because nobody can get anything. I actually think that this is going to be quite good for the first week, like the easiest week, and it's going to be down to mainly skill and intercept being the key thing to get the W right here, in theory. But again, this is all about putting it in practice. Champions that have access via debuff, and I actually think Hercules could be quite good in here, because he's able to do a good amount of damage by just doing rapid intercepts, building up to the 12 strength, and do a lot of burst-based damage. Again, in theory, but we'll have to see about that. But yeah, any champion that doesn't rely on a debuff, damaging debuff, and also buffs, could be really effective. Depending on that 20-second ramp period, is it going to be devastating to a champion like Venom, for example, or Odin, or Wolverine? Look, Archangel as well. Like all those particular champions, it's not going to be relevant to until after those 20 seconds. So if you can't do the damage in 20 seconds, or can't do an extent of damage in 20 seconds, think what your enemy is doing. Your opponent could be doing more damage than you because you're waiting around to actuate some of the damage that your champion is ramping on. But we'll have to see in practice, everything in theory. And I would say as well, the because week 3 of the Gladiator circuit is very much a case of Magic Thief and Ex-Magica. It is basically Alliance Wars at the moment. So any annoying Magic Thief based champion is going to be very effective and helpful. And of course counter that with Ex-Magica champions. But avoid stun debuff champions or avoid doing parries because of roll with the punches, because it reduces it down. I'm not saying don't do it, it's just a case of like once you've stunned once, it's not going to last as long as you might like. But also there is, I think it's power of play, yeah. So as long as you don't mind being fate sealed, if that's a problem, then choose champions that are buff immune like Spidey 2099, Titania, Red Guardian, etc. So yeah, those are some options for the upcoming Battleground season. I wish you good luck in the season. I did say I wouldn't be doing it as much. I probably will be because the rewards are better and maybe I can find the time to do a bit more than I. I'm not saying I did, because I did a good chunk of what I was meant to do last season. C'est la vie. Let's do this thing. Anyway, check out some other content located on screen. I'll see you all on the next one. Bye bye for now.